What do you reckon was the best performance from Somerset so far this season?
Such a tough question, isn't it? Because it's all down to my individual subjective view. But one of the most pleasing ones for me would have been the quarter final against Nottingham, where I thought we actually dominated the game. And they're a very, very strong side. And I thought the way we wheeled the ball and all that was outstanding. What do you reckon, Neil? You led that side.
Oh, God, already.
You obviously did agree.
Oh, it was a very good performance, Saj. It was a good one. I was thinking more for me, the Yorkshire away 4-day game. I think it was a really good team performance. Everyone contributed. We're under pressure quite a bit throughout that game as well, and for the guys to come out and play the way we did in those pressure situations. To me, I thought that was the best game, the most complete game, I think, from everyone. Back ball in the field.
Yeah, good time with the bat, didn't it?
Alright, so for you.
Yeah.
Go forward.
Any thoughts on that game, mate?
I thought Lewis played well. Nah, the championship games, I think it's really hard to differentiate between, like which was the best win. Getting off to a good start, I think, was crucial, and the two back-to-back performances against Worcestershire and Yorkshire, I thought were good. And then, the other one that stuck out was Nottinghamshire. Last game of the season, Craig's hat-trick.
So far we've talked about your handbrake, Henry and hat-trick.
No, that was Lewis brought up the heading the game. The other one that sticks out for me, seems like a while ago, was the Hampshire away in the 50 over competition. Chasing down 350, I think that's a serious effort, and they're a very good side as well. Obviously we fell just short in that competition, but I thought that was a serious team performance.
Interesting, isn't it? I think for me, it's the championship cricket. I think culturally, that's where how we go about our business day to day shows. I think it's the hardest form to win in. Over 4 days, you've got to be up for it for 4 days. And for me, there's 7 wins, I think it was in the competition. So rather than actually going into a specific game, I think behaviourally where we are now and how we're moving forward, for me that was the most pleasing. I think some of the white ball stuff was outstanding, but to me that's down to talent and skill. Whereas, as I say, I talk a lot about culture and behaviours, but the way we acquitted ourselves over 4 days, over a long summer, that's interjected with white ball cricket, for me was outstanding.
It was good as well, yeah. Everyone contributed, didn't they? Across all the formats. There was a real team contributions all the way through. And it wasn't your day one day, someone else stood up. I love the way that dovetailed. It was outstanding. And a lot of people talk about the energy and attitude in our fielding across all the formats. I mean, it stands alone compared to the opposition we play against. I think it's quite tough, isn't it? Trying to nail it down to one performance. But you're right, I think the championship was monumental.
I think it's pretty evident. If you look at the bowling stats, no one's got 50 wickets. So if you look at how many guys have got 30, 35 wickets, pushing towards 40 wickets, there's a number of people that have done that, and yet we've still managed to bowl teams out. So for me, that's a reflection of how you go about your business.
It's probably one of the biggest things that came out of it, I think, well, our championship season, wasn't it? Different individuals sticking their hands up at different times, and it made it such a good team to be a part of, I think, anyway. Hopefully you did as well.
Season obviously started in dramatic fashion off the field with the Cameron Bancroft situation. How difficult was it to deal with that at an early part of the season? Obviously you've got your plans all ready to go, your ducks are in a row, and then all of a sudden something like that happens that you just can't legislate for.
It was like someone throwing a hand grenade in and it going off unexpectedly. But I thought we dealt with it really, really well. It obviously was a shock to what our original planning, but I thought we went through a really good process of making sure we involved the right people around the discussions around the decision we were looking to make. And I think most importantly, we never forgot there was a young bloke at the centre of that, and then through situations and circumstances found himself in that unique situation, which obviously then had a knock-on effect to us. So I don't think we ever lost sight of him as an individual at the centre of it, and then obviously the process then went on to recruit a replacement for him. I thought we did really robustly. So I was really pleased with it at the end. And it all worked out. It's amazing sometimes how things work out.
It's one of them, isn't it, that obviously it was never ideal, but in that situation, with obviously what has been was given to him in penalties at the international level and with his own board, kind of gave us no sort of decision really to make. And then obviously, like you say, obviously Renner's coming in, who was kind of a little bit unknown, fitted into the dressing room really well, albeit could have been a little bit quieter at times, but yeah, I think it's obviously worked out, and I think throughout the whole season the recruitment for our overseas players was phenomenal. You see what they added, not just on the pitch but in the dressing room as well. It's only going to help other guys in the future and throughout this year.
I really like the fact that we go through a consultation process around our overseas, because I think it's really important to get everyone's view, where their standing is on that, and I think that would work really well on that.
Well, that's odd.
You alluded to it as well. You know, the difficulty I think came in the fact that we'd signed him, and you know, we almost saw him as one of our own at that point. And then, you know, you want to do best by the player who was obviously involved, and you know, as unfortunate as it was, but equally, you know, you've got the whole dressing room you've got to think about, the whole club that you've got to think about, and making the right decision for everyone involved. You know, and I think we did that, and obviously, like you say, it was a tough decision, but one that had to be made. Well done, Sasha, as well.
Obviously, the other guys that came in, you know, they were top class as well, weren't they? Every single overseas player this year played their part, from what we understand, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Is that a fair assessment?
I mean, I spent more time in the dressing room than I did, James, but from my perspective, you know, they seem to fit in seamlessly. Everyone can see their performances on the park, which is a huge part of their role, but how they fit in and add value to the change room, I think, is as important, isn't it?
Yeah, and all four were very different in how they did that. Reynolds, as Lewis alluded to, was a little bit unknown. Came in, played brilliantly, but was certainly a different character. Was very loud, very different to many people in our dressing room. But again, fitted in brilliantly, and the lads took to him. It certainly helps the way he played. He was incredibly dynamic. And then obviously with the two T20 guys, Corey, outstanding. We'd experienced him last year, albeit in a short period, but did phenomenally well for us. And JT was, you know, a breath of fresh air, incredibly skillful, very quiet in the dressing room, but also very knowledgeable, and wasn't afraid to share that with the lads. And it's those are the things that are really important to me. They're invaluable. It's not just what they do on the field; it's also as important what they do off the field. And we've been very fortunate. And as I was the same, he was an outstanding character. Had a lot of time for everybody, incredibly helpful, incredibly diligent and professional, and performed well as well.
It's great to see him and Trez at Taunton Vale with the second team during that second level championship game, where they're getting themselves prepared ready for the next round of first class games, and they're having that conversation around battling against spin, and all the young pups around just moving closer and closer, listening and latching onto every word they had to say. That's the sort of value that, you know, is priceless, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you need to take it out to the middle, like they did against Lancs.
I don't think there's coincidence in the fact, you know, that they obviously did perform really well for us. You know, as you spoke about, you know, the process was very robust, and you know, we had to make sure we got the right person, and I think we did that in all formats. I just thought they added a lot, you know, from a performance point of view, cultural point of view, and yeah, we were very lucky, I think, in terms of who we got as overseas.
I don't think it is luck, is it?
Not luck, sorry, that's the wrong word.
The process we're now going through is to actually making sure that, because what you can't guarantee is performance. They can be incredibly unlucky while they're here, they can go through a bad run. We've seen that with many players over the years. So it's about who they are as people and the value they offer. So if you do your homework and you get to find out enough about them, actually, you know they're going to add value irrespective of how well they perform. For me, we're fortunate this year in that all four performed, which was fantastic.
Obviously, the decision again this year was to split the captaincy across the formats. Whose decision was that, and do you think it worked?
Inevitably, for me, it did work. Yeah, I think, you know, Abe's obviously had a bachelor's of fire the year before. It's been well documented. Came in as a young captain, but learned a hell of a lot for that. So that was the easy decision to continue to support him, knowing that the player he's going to be, how well he played this year, not to embarrass you. But how he is as a leader as well. But I think to ask a young captain to captain all three formats would have been incredibly challenging. So when we sat down, we had lots of conversations. But for Lewis as well, where he was at his career, I think, you know, we've seen this year by if you empower people, you give them responsibility. Often people stand up, and he did that brilliantly this year. So I'm incredibly pleased with how it's gone for both of them as individuals, but more importantly as leaders of the club.
I'm sure you've learned something as well this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it's one of them. Obviously, I've not done a huge amount of it for a long period of time and for like a competition. So I think it's one of them that you learn very quickly. You have to learn quickly. But obviously, I think we've throughout all competitions and throughout the squad, we got a lot of experience. A lot of guys that play a lot of cricket, which obviously help. In those periods that you're not quite sure what to do, there's a few guys that you can lean on to get an idea, and I think that's something that's sort of thrilled me throughout this summer. Was actually there's always guys thinking about the game and wanting to help, and that's not just on the pitch, it's off the pitch, and it's the culture that has been created is only one that I think guys are going to improve and move up with. And I think obviously Tommy was fantastic this year. Obviously, the way you performed, but not only the captaincy side of things, I thought was outstanding, and you led from the front, and that's something that I've learned from and sort of wanted to do, and I think we did it pretty well this year.
Very kind of you there, so I'm a bit
Beautiful,
taken aback by that. Thanks, mate. Equally, you know, I think obviously Lewis is going to talk about himself and the light that perhaps he should.
Does normally.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, his camera's here though. I think 2020 was my first real experience playing 2020 cricket this year, and you know, I sort of start to gain an appreciation of the demands on captains in 2020 cricket, and you know, I thought, without blowing your trumpet too much, dealt with that really well because it's a very pressurised environment. And obviously you performed phenomenally well as well with that. And I like to think we dovetailed really well. You know, I know you always had my back in championship cricket and the one-day stuff. Well, to be fair, you did all the one-day competition, didn't you? So, from my side, you know, it's great having guys like that around me. And equally, you know, support from you guys. You know, I thought it was a very healthy thing and allowed us to sort of play how we wanted to play, because you know, I didn't feel necessarily as a captain that, you know, I had to do a huge amount. I think the team, a lot of the boys, they look after themselves, you know, and equally sort of when the bowling unit deliver like they can, makes your life as a captain far easier. So yeah, I sort of owe the bowlers a drink, I think, in the off season.
I was really impressed how it dovetailed, really. I thought you two worked brilliantly together. It was really impressive to observe your leadership styles, which are very different. But what was really impressive, it's one thing to be out the front leading, but you've got to get blokes to come behind you and follow you, and everyone got behind you. And the followership was amazing, so you can take great credit for that. And I think the support Jace gave you as well, in mentoring you through some of the stages as well, was outstanding. I think it's dovetailed beautifully. I think we're very fortunate. I think you lead by example from the front. Club captain, championship captain, one-day captain. You lead brilliantly by example. It drives the whole culture. And you've come in this year and taken responsibility for the T20 and driven that side of things equally well. I think we're in a really healthy position. There aren't many good examples of young leaders in this country, and I think we're very fortunate to have two outstanding leaders with really high ceilings.
I agree with that.
Thank you.
Obviously, we've seen some international recognition for the players. A lot of the guys on the line this tournament, including Lewis, and obviously Jack back will be where he belongs in the Test arena. How did you feel when you broke his thumb?
How did I feel? I was fine, thanks. Look, I was incredibly disappointed for him, obviously. I think what we were 10 days out from the Lord's Test. Unfortunately, that's professional sport, though, isn't it? Leach didn't speak to me for about a month, so that's fine, totally understandable. But you know, it's great to see him back there. He done well last winter in New Zealand, and he's had to wait a long while to get the opportunity again. So we wish him all the best this winter.
Dream always rises to the top, doesn't it? So I think we all knew, obviously, Leachy's ability, and it was going to be a matter of time until he was sort of back there at the top. But that period obviously was very disappointing for him. Obviously losing his place in the side through injury, and that's sport, that can happen to anyone. But just obviously the circumstances were disappointing for him. But I thought he came back from it, phenomenally well, because it was always going to be difficult coming back into the side, and obviously with expectation up there, I thought he dealt with that really well. But equally, that gave an unbelievable opportunity to Bessie, didn't it?
Absolutely.
What sort of time he had in an England shirt.
Phenomenal story, isn't it? Yeah. Really. And you can be really proud of how he performed during those 2 test matches. And that gives him something now really to build on. But to go back to Leachy, I think it's a reflection of Leachy's character and his resilience that he overcame that challenge of breaking his thumb so far out, because he was devastated, wasn't he? Absolutely devastated. It means so much to him.
Everyone was devastated for him as well.
And that's the other interesting thing is that generally speaking, in that changing room, people felt really bad for him, didn't they? Because there was a real care in that changing room. Interestingly enough, it's great to see you being recognised by England on the pathway. Congratulations, and you've thoroughly deserved that, mate. And it's great to see, obviously, that Bessie and Craig have been involved in England before, but also Jamie getting some recognition as well. It's a fantastic stepping stone for you guys now to go on the international career. It's going to be hard work, I reckon. India could be interesting after Christmas. One thing I'd like to raise is how disappointed I am about the lack of James Hildreth and our club captain Tom Abel, obviously which you're not going to speak much about not being selected. I find that incredibly frustrating.
I'm with you 100%. I think James Hildreth, what more does he have to do? He's been phenomenal for over a decade. And if you look at it statistically, for me, 100% deserves an opportunity. You could argue he's one of the best players of spin as well, so this winter would have been a fantastic time for him to have that opportunity. Hasn't been, isn't going to be, certainly in the near future. But I guess that's to the benefit of us. He's a phenomenal player. And similar age, the year you've had, for me, it's not just the year that you've had, it's the way you've gone about it, the way you score your runs. We're obviously biased here, and we see you day in, day out, but for me, 100% should have been on the line strip. However, it just keeps driving you forward, and I'm sure that opportunity will come sooner rather than later.
I obviously appreciate that. And it's one of those things, isn't it? I was obviously really happy with how we went as a team, and individually, it's nice to have a better year. But I would just say on those guys that have been selected, we see every day how good they can be and what they're about, and I'm just excited for those guys to show how good they are on that stage, because I'm convinced that they can be the backbone of the English side in the next few years, and that is so exciting for us as a club, to see that. And Louis has had a phenomenal year this year, and there's not many players that can do what you can do, I don't think. And equally, the 2 Overtons and Bessie, it's great to see those guys getting recognised.
Great role models as well. Great role models.
I think it shows where we are as a club at the moment. We've obviously got 5 guys in the sort of from the main squad in the England pathway, and we've got, like you said, 2-3 guys that are pushing very hard or should be there already, and that's only obviously going to be beneficial for us as a club. We've got those guys looking to sort of further their careers, and I think there's more than the guys that have been recognised, like you're saying, that should be there and will be there in the near future. I'm very sure of that. So it's exciting for us, and like you said, if lads perform how we know they can next year, then it's going to be a very exciting year.
Touched on the future there. Obviously, it's Brad talking about the pathway. We've seen once again this year players making their first class debuts, like Ben Green and Tom Banton. Obviously, Eddie Byron still pretty new to the scene. How's Pathway getting on? Is it in still in good health?
It'll be good to get everyone else's view, but I think it's progressing really, really nicely. I think it's great to see as well. We've got 4 guys that have been selected in the England Under-19 Young Lion programme this winter. Tom Lambeast obviously signed his first year as a professional cricketer, and 3 young blokes who are on our academy that have been involved in that process for a number of years. So that's really, really exciting. I think the future is good here at Somerset. But also, what I like about it, it inspires the next generation coming through. We've got Leachy playing for England. We've got 4 blokes on the Lions. We've got 4 blokes in the Young Lions. That's what people can and be aspirational towards. I think it's just like a conveyor belt of players coming through the system. And I think it should be recognised as a success as part of the club. Winning silverware is obviously really important, very important. But also producing players so they're developing and then they're getting recognised by England, I think has to be viewed as success as well.
I think the exciting thing for me is obviously I'm seeing a little bit more of the young lads that have sort of come onto the staff over the last sort of 2-3 years. Like you say, making their debuts this year and really seeing the talent that we've got coming through. As a relatively old 26-year-old, it's nice to see that, and obviously they played some of the performances in the second team have been phenomenal, and to get their opportunity this year is only going to sort of help them and spur them on to work hard over the winter and hopefully keep pushing next year and developing into top quality cricketers. And like you say, and then like you say, it is a conveyor belt at the moment. We've got guys that keep coming through, keep coming onto the staff and putting in performances, and like you say, the pressure of having a big squad with everyone performing and challenging for places is only going to improve the standard that we're putting out on the park, which is incredibly exciting.
What excites me is I think each of those young guys that we talk about, I think they all have that little bit of genius. Don't get me wrong, making the step up is difficult. And I think as young players, we're always trying to be a little bit more consistent. But I think, I just think about, George's first 100 against Lancashire, against quality attack, and, seeing those guys that have come up through, and you've played a lot of cricket with in the twos and things, seeing that come to fruition, in the first team. I was lucky enough to be out there at the time, that was an amazing moment because I know it meant a lot to George. And I'm sure in the next couple of years, there'll be more young lads like Eddie, Greener, these guys that are, going to be getting their name on the board as well, and that'll be awesome.
Obviously, preparations are already well underway for next season. Jack Brooks has come in. What was the thinking behind that?
I'm about to crack on with that. Quality performance. If we're going to be serious about winning silverware, we need to have a group of strike seam bowlers that can perform and regularly take 20 wickets, and we need that quality of depth. We've got some really good young blokes coming through that are developing. Taking Nathan Gilchrist on in the academy this year, so he's his first year as a professional cricketer next year. Ollie Sell's making some good progress now after significant back injury the previous year. And we've also got the Dutchman, Paul van Meekeren, that again is making really good progress. And those guys will keep developing, there's no doubt about that. We've got to make sure that if we're going to have guys getting called up for England, we're potentially always going to have injuries, that we've got a real nucleus of seam bowlers that can allow us to continue to take 20 wickets and put the opposition under significant pressure. And as you alluded to earlier on, Lewis, competition for places, it drives standards. Levels are going to raise up. And we want to try and get the best quality squad we possibly can. Ideally producing players from within our pathway, but when there's a gap, making sure we're identifying the right character and the right quality of person to come in and fill that gap.
I think he's a quality performer, isn't he? He's got 50 wickets again this year, I think, and having that quality and again a bit of experience to go with it, like I say, is only going to help other people. It's only going to drive standards. Which is exciting if we see what we've seen this year and we're only going to add to that. It's incredibly exciting, and he's another good guy. He'll fit into the dressing room really well, and I'm sure the guys will really get on with him and grow with him. So it's very exciting.
Phil, it's also a testament to where we are as a club and hopefully where we're going. That he wanted to come here because I think a big part of his decision was he's still ambitious. He wants to win things. And he obviously felt that Somerset, was a place that he can hopefully do that. So, that was a bit of a boost for us as well, I think. But yeah, having that quality sort of to add to what we've already got is ideal.
You've seen the difference, haven't you? Surrey have signed a bowler of high calibre, high quality, more name more. It's made a huge difference. It's similar here. I think we're very close to losing people to play for England, and it's important that quality, we don't lose any quality of what we put out on the park. His strike rate's phenomenal in first class cricket. I think he's up there with Lewis. To have that penetration, complement the attack that we've got already. We'll strike fear into the opposition. It's incredibly exciting for us, I think.
Now, obviously people talk about the Somerset family and how we fit in and around the community. This year the club did over 120 normal cricket-based appearances, culminating in Captain Tom Abel winning the Community Player of the Year award. Lewis was close second, obviously. Lewis
North Shield.
And
who else?
Michael Spears voucher.
Have you spent it yet?
I haven't, no.
What are you going to spend it on, mate?
I don't know.
Hey?
Maybe you, Sarge, if you look after me, but if you're lucky.
How important is it for you guys at the club are doing bits and pieces in the community and having a real benefit on the community as a whole rather than just on the cricket field?
I think it's really important to make a connection, isn't it? We're very privileged to have the jobs and responsibilities that we do. Very privileged, and a lot of people connect to the cricket association of the county cricket club and the people within it. And it's always nice that you can go back out, isn't it, and give something and put a smile on someone's face. I'm guilty of not particularly putting a lot of time and effort into that, or being available to do that, which I need to do more of, because I realise how important it is for them and for us as a club, and for me as an individual as well. So I'd like to be better at that. So well done, Tom. You've been outstanding.
Thanks. From a playing point of view, I don't know what you think, Louis, but sometimes, cricket is the season can be so intense and all-consuming. From my side, I quite enjoy just taking a step back from cricket and going into a completely different environment, and it takes your mind off things. And we obviously spend quite a bit of time at Selworthy School, and seeing some of the challenges that they face on a daily basis, I think really puts in perspective how lucky we are and what we get to do. And the feeling you get, from putting a smile on some of their faces is unparalleled as well.
Definitely. I think it's one of those things that being able to influence other people, and like you said, you see some people in some not great positions in life, and to be able to affect them and for the better is only a thing that guys should want to do more of. And like you said, I think there's no one can kind of do enough of it. It takes you away. It shows you what a privileged position we're in, and hopefully, like you say, that is nice to affect other people's lives, and can only put you in a better space to do what we do.
I think it's great in general that the club's very proactive in the community. All sorts of different events going on all the time, and as you say, Somerset cricket is a huge part of life down here. So it's great to be able to give something back.